in Africa, when you hear Juju, run.
If you look across cultures globally, there was witchcraft in Europe,
yes,
Asia,
everywhere.
and everything. These people over time turned that into science. But I guess in this part of the world, we didn't dive deep into the science of those things that were magical then.
You can't entirely blame Africans for believing that Juju is evil. But does it work? Me, I believe it works.
What do we mean by does it work? Because we've seen over time that placebo effect has a very powerful way of influencing your mind.
Science are giving a verdict that life is more complex than just the physical reality that we have. The fact that you don't know about it doesn't mean it does not exist.
I think there are more spiritual and at the same time logical approach towards charm.
Because you haven't experienced it, are you defying the fact that it does exist or it does happen?
Okay, maybe when I see it, I may believe.
For you to have to believe, that means
there was something that was
doubting already.
That's how we find answers. By seeking, by doubting, not by accepting everything that is thrown our way. African spiritual beliefs have a holistic way of looking at life. In Africa, spirituality and science are both two sides of the same coin. There's no difference. They are all intertwined. But with modern technology, now we see that there is a difference. But then still, let me ask you a question. Our ancestors have always observed things even before the invention of the modern telescope. So do you believe that charms and magic are real, or are they just science that has been unexplored?
I think the deeper question should be, what do we mean by does it work? Because we've seen over time that placebo effect has a very powerful way of influencing your mind to do something just because of a preconceived notion of some kind of, movement or stimulus, if I want to call it that. But generally, I think there are more spiritual and at the same time logical approach towards charm. Some people say because of this, let's say this particular object, it gave them that courage to do what they wanted to do. Now, there are two things involved. Were you influenced by that object spiritually, or was that object like a catalyst propelling you to do what you do because you already had that innate ability to do that certain thing? So it's a two-way street because it's a bit confusing and at the same time, it's a bit spiritual. Now, it's for us to sit down and dissect and find out if really there's a spiritual undertone or you just had the opportunity of bringing that ability you had inside of you.
And I think the way you put it is just so interesting. Like the whole placebo effect and how maybe it's your higher self. So the spiritual angle to that could be your higher self that just needed that push. Or like the Igbo call it, every human being has their own chi, their own personal God. So let's say you in the physical realm are still doubting yourself. But then when you believe something, then your chi also believes that thing. And then your chi pushes you and says, maybe your chi is that positive voice in your head that is saying, you know what, you can do it. And then when you try it, it works. And you're like, wow, God answered my prayers, or the gods are taking care of me. But you and your chi are one and the same.
It's just like an amputee who, after losing one arm, you somehow get your senses heightened. You become, exceptionally powerful or exceptionally gifted or skillful in handling things with one arm because there's that need of that necessity for your body to tap inwards, bringing out that ability you never knew you had in being proficient, in being active, in being skillful.
Well, I see that as spirituality now. Yeah, because you are going inwards. You understand? This is the physical. You understand? So when you have, yes, we agree you have those innate strengths and all that, but it's all part of spirituality. So if they are spirits, I believe humans can tap into the world of spirits at some point.
I think, like you said, it's a perspective thing, because if you agree that or you disagree to the fact that these charms work or they don't work, I guess it has to be like the belief or your understanding to some certain aspects of it, because in some cases, those charms were not, okay, we go back, because whenever we see charms, we just go back to the voodoo of like things of Juju, just disappearing, appearing, and all those things. Some of those charms were actually explained by science. Like, they were actually things that actually imposed and like actually helped people. Because some of those charms were actually herbs that even till today, science could explain like how they even helped modern pharmacology. And it ties down to also like even down to drugs that we use to nowadays. So it's not always just intertwined down to the fact that, okay, if it's voodoo, then it has to be something that's so mystical that cannot always be explained. And if it's charm, so it has to be, like I said, it just has to be a perspective thing. Like, how do you see it? Because the moment charms just come to your mind, woof, oh, this guy disappears, this guy appears, Juju.
But in Africa, let me calm down. When you hear Juju, run. Because you understand, the notion around our African Juju here is when it's usually done for evil. It's used for evil, rather. You know, so you can't entirely blame Africans for believing that Juju is evil. You understand what I'm saying? But does it work? Me, I believe it works.
Okay, can you give us instances? Have you seen situations where charms or Juju, voodoo, whatever was
I won't say
put into
Juju.
use?
I'm from the northern part of Nigeria.
Okay.
Yes, and I have, of course, growing up when I was younger, not like now, I have seen a couple of times that, you know, they are like local psychosis, whereby, these guys, they call them Entori.
Yes.
Yes, in Hausa, they call them Entori in Hausa. They come with all sorts of razors, knives, and they blow some incantation and cut themselves. Nothing goes, you know, past through their skin.
That's crazy.
Some even chew bottle.
Yeah.
Yes, I have seen it.
Chew
Yes,
razors.
I have seen it. Some chew bottles, they chew razors, and nothing happens.
Ha.
And they even dare you too sometimes.
yeah.
Like they give you the
Mr.
knives and
G.
say, okay, you know, cut. You understand? I've seen some of that coming from where I'm coming from. And then, how do you even explain, for example, like snake charmers?
Yes, how do you explain that?
That they talk to the snake.
For snake charmers, maybe they have a chemical compound or music. Like, I know snakes like music.
Exactly. Music is what
So
They actually
spiritual.
react to
Wait, it's
vibration.
spiritual. See, like,
It's
It's
like I said,
vibration.
spiritual.
It's vibration.
It's vibration. It's physics.
What is vibration? It's
energy,
spiritual.
I know
All
it's
these things.
spirituality. See,
You know, it's interesting you mentioned chewing of bottles and all of that. And I believe there are certain skills you can acquire in doing that. Growing up as a
Of
child.
chewing a bottle,
Hold
sir.
on, yes.
So
Growing
you
up
put
as
a
a
bottle.
child. Hold on. Growing up as a child. I don't know if you're familiar with the fluorescent bulbs, those long fluorescent
I remember.
tubes.
Yes.
Now, I don't know how I learned this skill. You know, it's pressurized bulbs, right? At the slightest crack, it gives a loud bang when it breaks. I used to smash that thing on my head. And my friends would be like, how did I learn this skill? I'd be like, my great-grandfather. As a child,
So you
gave
just
me this
added
trick.
something mystical
Added
to
something
it.
mystical. And all I did, because I understood that at the slightest crack, it makes a loud bang and it shatters. And that sound alone would frighten
like that.
everybody. It goes poof. And all I need to do is just, you know, toughen myself. I think I was probably 14, 15 at that time. I slam it on my head. It goes, blows up to smithereens. And everybody goes, wow, Gordon is a and I told them my grandfather gave me a special skill. So what am I trying to say in essence? I could easily just go and say, hey, I did this charm. I know how to, I did some kind of mystical powers with the bottles and tubes and all of that. And because of that power that I have, these things will not affect me. Meanwhile, I understood the science about it. And that was what I applied. And as well, growing up as a child, I was really skillful from jumping from trees to trees. I don't know where I got that skill from. Maybe I would have gone for the Olympics or something. I do not know. But I could do that. And I don't know. I think for me then, it was just managing my weight. I know how not to rest my weight on this branch, how to let go of this branch, so that physics would take its toll. I will swing to the other tree. And my friends always ask me, where did you learn this skill?
How are you sure?
And once again, I would say, my grandfather.
Exactly, but how are you sure?
That my
Maybe
grandfather.
your grandfather.
My father did it, my grandfather
No,
did it.
you have to investigate that. Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's true.
Maybe
Because
my
I believe
grandfather
in
had some
grandfather.
Tarzan in his blood. I don't know.
Possible.
you know that
Yes.
even science that has gone down to like they haven't fully like given a clear view of okay, do charm exist or charm don't exist or like whatever mystical belief do they actually exist? But then even down to quantum physics, you have to understand that there are some science has given a verdict that life is more complex than just the physical reality
True
that we
that.
have.
True.
So yeah, they have not given, and like you said, there are things that we don't yet know. That doesn't mean they don't exist.
Clear.
clearly. The fact that you don't know about it doesn't mean it does not exist.
True.
Okay,
Exactly.
like there's this place. I don't want to be too spooky, but there's this place. I can't remember. I know it's like a no-fly zone around
The Bermuda Triangle.
Yes.
Yeah.
So how do you explain that now, for example?
Well, if we want to,
Is it-
if we want to explain that by science, we could say we know there are gravitational poles. And, the Earth emits some kind of rays, gravitational forces, whereby if you go through that place, the gravitational forces, because of maybe where it is located,
Yeah.
it pulls down anything that goes within that field. So there's a science to that. If you want to ask me, there's a science, there's a perfect
Maybe
explanation
here,
to that.
but there's something maybe spiritual. Don't you think that is?
No, we're not negating the fact that there's something spiritual, but we also need to have people need to see these things. Just like before now, when you watch magical shows where they tell you they brought the rabbit out of the hat, you would think mystically. But we all found out with time that they were all tricks. It was trickery. It was even science because optical delusions and so many other things came to play.
But there's Favor. I think we discussed something earlier on about this guy in Jos.
Yes, we discussed. There was like now according to you call him a trickster, right? But we call him a magic charm or a charmer, right? They used to call him Amadou Mai.
Mai.
Right?
Okay.
So you hear the word Mai.
Mine is even already witchcraft.
Now
Wizard.
that can just be a translation, a direct translation. Defend me now how you use it because it's an indirect language. Now they say like according to people, he goes to the market square, all right, and he just and
comes
maybe
with a box.
He comes with a box, right? And he does an incantation and he calls like children on the streets, like Amaji, and whatever incantation he does, food appears in the box and he gives it to them.
Wow.
You understand?
At least he's using his
Rappers
powers
from
for something
Caminos, he
good.
calls them forth.
And that has always been my problem with magicians and charms. Like, use your powers for good if you say you have power. So I like, if this is true, I like this guy.
If
And
this
I
is
like
true, you're
I've
questioning
drank
it.
lollipop from
the guy.
No.
Okay.
From when I was growing up, I've drank lollipop from a magician.
Yes.
He did. He,
Okay,
when
he
we're
didn't
growing
have a
up,
lollipop and then it
he didn't have
appeared.
anything in
He came
his bag.
prepared without lollipop, tucked it somewhere.
I don't know, but I drank lollipop from him.
This reminds me too of one tradition,
So,
right? In the northern parts, like there's also a tribe, whereas right when it's time for like their festival, they have an annual festival they do in the year, everybody, right? They go right and there's this drink they usually make, right? And they plant the seeds to make this drink, and it grows that very day. So we can say allegedly, according to you, since you don't believe it, but these people it grows that day and they make it into a drink that very day. So now how would you define that, please? Is there a science
I don't know
back there?
about that one.
No, it's just
He's giving Jack and the beanstalk.
let me bring.
Is there a science? Now, please.
Now
Back to
imagine-
the science.
Thing,
imagine-
science says
now-
I don't know.
Now imagine, let us say 400 years ago, and I am, let's say, an explorer. I come across the magnet, and I bring the magnet to you, and I get metals, and I do some incantations, and I get that magnet to float. Everybody who sees that with their naked eye will give me. They might call me a god, but fast forward 400 years into the future, we just realize it's metal, it's magnet. I don't know if you get my point.
Yeah.
So there must be a logical explanation. Even when you see somebody levitating in the sky, I've seen a video of an African tribe. There was a thin rope that the masquerade was hanging on. And in my mind, I can see where your leg is resting on. But to some people's eyes who are already, shrouded
But then it
with...
takes
But
skill and a level of
I
science,
don't think a
knowledge
whole
of
human being
physics
can
to even
rest on a thin rope,
rest
and
on
you
the
call
thin
that science
rope.
because that has to be some
And
certain level
like
of.
you
that
say,
brings us
it's a
back to
skill.
how African spirituality and science
Intertwines.
come together. Yes.
It
So we
intertwines
see
because-
spirituality and science in that example.
I'm really glad you said that. Now, if you look across cultures globally, there was witchcraft in Europe,
Yes,
Asia,
everywhere.
and everything. These people over time turned that into science.
True.
Because I'm sure, like the explanation I gave with the magnet, if somebody had probably 400 years ago discovered magnet and did some kind of trickery with the magnet, everybody would believe that. Now, over time, they looked into it and said, how can we make this work? They turned that into motors that will power your fans and power so many other things. But I guess in this part of the world, maybe we didn't dive deep into the science of those things that were magical then or charms. But in other parts of the world, like Europe and America, they dug further. They found a way of turning magic, charm, rituals into science.
Gotten from
And that's
Africa, by the
difference.
way.
It's the
I believe they
secrecy.
got
Yeah,
those things
so
from
It's
Africa.
the secrecy, what Mr. G is saying, because why we had that failure of turning our magic or spirituality into science that can work for everybody is the secrecy. A lot of these things are secret cults. There's a special group of people, masquerades, initiates that do certain things. Maybe women are not allowed or uninitiated are not allowed. And so the knowledge stays with a small group of people. And over time...
Good. But they exist, don't they?
They exist.
Don't masquerades exist? Don't secret cults exist?
They do.
When you have this secrecy, that means
there is something that
spiritual.
has to be kept secret.
You understand?
For a secret cult to exist, that means there's a secrecy. They are keeping.
No, we're not having an argument about secrets and things in the open. We're talking about charms
and
versus science. Like
yes, and the reason why you don't believe in charms is because
where
of the
does
secrecy of it.
spirituality start and where does it end?
And also, why it doesn't look as if charms, let me put it that way, now in this our modern age works is because most of the custodians of those, those practices are dead.
True.
And they didn't, unfortunately, some of them, because of the westernization now and the science, some of them, the people that were supposed to have passed it, they passed it on to them, like grandfathers maybe passing, they pick like one of their kids and say, okay, I'm going to pass this thing on to you. The child went to school and became scientific.
And they even told that child in school that this is demonic.
Yes, that's the
and has refused.
bad.
So most of these things have died, unfortunately, have passed with the people that knew how to.
Yeah.
You understand?
Like,
so it may not entirely be just maybe let's say a mere coincidence that these things, maybe you mistakenly got a magnet or something, but it might have been that. You understand?
It brings me to a story. I saw it unfold. A friend of mine, many years ago, his father was contesting for a gubernatorial election then for some state. I don't want to mention the state because they'll connect the dots and know what I'm talking about. So, back then, for you to go into elections, you need to move around with lots of cash because you pay the campaign manager and all of that. So there was lots of cash lying down in the house. So this, my friend, somehow got into the father's roof, gained access into the house, got the money, and brought the money. It was lots of money. Now, I asked him, what would you do when they figure out that somebody went into the house? And he said, the father would never know. And I said, how? He brought out a padlock with hides and leathers. They use it. They weaved it around the padlock, and he said something and he locked it. And he said because of that, the father would never know. I waited to see if things would blow over. It never happened. But I thought to myself, the man was an old man, and obviously maybe he lost count of all of the money he gave out because I'm sure he must have given cash to so many people, the campaign organizers, maybe the drivers, the musicians, and all of that. And maybe he forgot. Now, that singular act might make that guy believe in the power of that charm. And at the end of the day, maybe coincidences were just, they came at a crossroads where the father forgot about that. Now, what am I trying to say?
Is
there a possibility that these things don't work? I'm trying to see the science behind it. But the padlock was scientifically made. The skin, obviously, I don't know where he got that skin from. It could be the skin of
animal,
maybe from a
iguana or something.
I don't know. Maybe there was a special request for that.
Maybe it was just pomo left to
No, maybe it was from
that
a
means
cow
it's possible
or
science
something.
And the skin was from the charm.
they are in like
science, the padlock was from science. So now then they mixed. Of
then
course,
the incantation was spirituality.
But also. There's this place, I'm not too sure. I don't know if it's in France or Venice, I can't remember, where lovers put,
Yes,
so even science, the inventors of science believe in the supernatural that, okay, if I love you and you love me, it's somehow like our blood, what do they call it?
Blood oath.
Covenant.
Yes, that might be science, but there's a belief that
It's
this
a
thing works.
Superstition.
Belief.
Now, I just
In
want
every
And there are
society,
so many,
every society has
millions
a
of
superstition.
padlocks under the water there now.
Yes.
And
It's just like the fountain where you throw a coin and you wish
Yes,
for something.
that's the
They
one
have
in
that.
Venice.
But we're talking about charms.
Okay,
That
wait.
I want to be able to go to a witch doctor, get one horn and some feathers and all of that, and he tells me on the 6th day of the market square, if I say some things into it, dollars will magically appear in front of me. If that happens, then I'm going to be honest with
It
you
doesn't
guys.
always happen like that. See,
I was
When
not
it
there.
comes to things like that,
But
Wait.
I was not there, but
explanation
I
for most
have-
of some of these things.
I have a senior cousin. He married from the, I think not Eastern Africa, northern part of Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, and according to the wife, every time she sleeps and wakes up, she sees money under her pillow.
According to
Yes,
her.
and
It's like,
apparently
also-
she spends the money.
Exactly.
And my mom asked her, okay, my mom now asked her, so you say you sleep every day
your
and you
husband now.
see money under your pillow, and she says yes. So what do you do with the money? She said, I spend it ignorantly, and she, I don't know, it's a bit sensitive though, but she battled with, some issues
Okay.
that they had to get some, like clerics to, really, before she could,
Be better.
be better.
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. And I believe she actually was seeing money under her pillow.
See, like,
Just
like I
some
was
few
trying to
days,
say,
some
for
few
this
days ago,
amulet-
my daughter came into my room and she was disappointed that the tooth fairy didn't give her money. And I had to tell my wife tell my daughter the tooth fairy was busy because so many children in that area. Yeah. So the next day, my wife put 1,000 naira under the pillow and my daughter came to meet me happily saying, Daddy, the tooth fairy came. And I said, please keep that money. Spend it wisely. Now my daughter will go on and believe. Maybe when she grows up,
She's
she'll be
14.
like, this man deceived me.
like
So I think every society needs something to ride on.
Yeah.
To roll on, to believe in, to have this superstitious belief, because it brings some kind of sanity, it brings some kind of explanation, it brings some kind of succor to whatever they are going through, be it
Yes.
through age, through health, through puberty, through initiation into motherhood or whatever it takes. So I think every society globally needs something to hold on to. And I think with time, these things translate and become into superstition, sometimes even charm. I think that's the logical
It's a
explanation to
belief.
it.
No,
I believe whatever you hold on to, you reverence and you believe in, somehow.
So kind of energy. Like
Yes.
You're putting energy towards something.
like
Exactly.
African traditions, yes, go back to even energies, vibrations. Like
Yes.
we believe in the surroundings, our environment. Like I also wanted to say
Rain
I think,
stoppers.
back to like
What do you
the
say about
guy-
rainmakers and rain
Yes,
stoppers?
like back what you said about like the padlock of your friend. Like there are different things to explain. Like for instance, now there are like two different types of items that are being given to you when it comes to like some spiritual, depend on the kind of African descent you're going to, right? They are amulets and they are talismans. Now, an amulet wouldn't necessarily have a spiritual backing on it. It might just be something that you believe, like you say, the placebo effect, where you believe in the power and it actually ordains for you. So science has also backed that, whereas faith incites the mind and the mind incites the body, and science has proven that when the mind is insightful, it also tends to help itself heal, even to withstand pain.
Yeah,
So you
powerful.
understand, right?
So that's psychology.
That's
even.
psychology, but
That's
those are
the
now
science.
amulets. But now they are not talismans, whereas they need spiritual connection for those things to actually work.
Interesting.
Do you understand? So the fact that they just tell you charm, you just go, oh, no, you're looking at it from the wrong side. So now those talismans are the ones that they actually have, maybe like what will I say, like they're actually intertwined with the deity or whatever to actually
Spirits.
make them work. In those way. But those amulets now, your friend might have just been given an amulet and he believed it to work, and
And
maybe
maybe the dad is old.
The,
As he said that.
the old man had lots of transactions. I'm sure he forgot.
Like, it
now
was politics, he
let's
was
go back
spending money.
to the amulets and all of that you've mentioned. We've seen where, unfortunately, people of the underworld, criminals, who go about robbing and all of that, and unfortunately or fortunately, the police would catch up to them. Maybe there's a shootout, and when at the end of the shootout, you see bodies of these criminals and you see charms. What happened? Why did that traditional bulletproof
you know what?
shield them?
The police too came with theirs.
Ah,
you didn't look at it from that side. You didn't look at it from that side. Nobody
Are we now saying that?
It just can be-
Are we
it
now
can be
saying?
true.
Are we now saying?
For you to catch a thief,
Are
you
we
need to
now
behave like a
saying you
thief.
go to the
Wow.
police?
Exactly.
Are we now saying you go to the police academy after they teach you forensic?
no, that's not
Hold
what-
on.
Now go back to
And
your
then they now
babalawo.
tell you now
Like-
that you are graduating. Here is this talisman.
No.
Tie
For
it
your
on the
personal
gun,
consumption.
and when you
We've
tie
all
it
heard
on
the
the
story of-
bullet,
Why in Nigeria, we all had the story of Anini, right? We've all heard it now.
But he died eventually.
He died eventually, right? After how many
Everybody
trials?
dies eventually.
After how many trials?
to shock you,
How many
my
shooting
relative
parades?
was the person who shot him. So, and I'm sure the man didn't do anything.
Check your relative too. Hold something for
He
pocket.
did
So
not hold
what did your
anything.
relative say? Did he hold anything?
He just said,
Like
shot-
according to the story,
Man,
right?
brother.
Well,
That was
his
not the
relative
first time he
said-
tried to kill him.
But people try to kill people all the time.
the time.
You know, it
Multiple
doesn't
times.
mean any spiritual connection or whatever to it.
So you
it could
think
just
it's
be
normal to the fact that somebody that has been robbing for almost, let me say, 10, 12 years and has
Decade.
escaped for a decade plus.
There
and
are
have been
people
doing this
that have been
Not just
robbing for 50
coincidence of
years.
Wait, I'm trying to tell you, like, And they said, like, according to the story, like, quote me if I'm wrong, Rob, according to the story, they said they caught him through someone, right? There was an insider who gave out whatever, like, mystical power he was using and how to cut it
kind
off.
of
Yes, there must be a mole.
Yes. Like, as you said, now, even though your story is now, most likely, have you ever seen in the village now, if you want to go and catch someone that is a bit spiritual, right?
Bakassi boys.
They need to follow
Do you
somebody.
guys remember Bakassi boys? Were they real or not?
Were they?
They were real human beings. Now, whether their charms were real
Bakassi
is
boys,
a different conversation.
No, but Bakassi boys never hid theirs. They use charms. Because, yes, they use charms. I think they had, like, I don't know whether it was a scepter or something, that if they come near you, it, glows and it tells them this person is a suspect or this person.
Are you sure you're not mixing it up with the
not
Nollywood
the movie? No, not
because
the
there was
movie.
Pisakaba
I don't know.
boys.
Well, I can't remember whichever, but I know there was
that
Bakassi
time.
boys.
And if you see, even down to our movies now, you see, like, some of them
Even
are
now,
a bit
I'm
exaggerated.
here now.
True.
Yes, some of
And
them-
I wonder if some of these things could be biological warfare. Like in my village, we used to have biological warfare. But of course, now that science has demystified it, back in the day, people would think, oh, it's magic. So we used to fight enemies with lice, bees, and other biological things. Yeah, so you as the enemy coming, when you see a swarm of bees, maybe you think it's something spiritual. The clouds are dark, but it's just the bees are coming
So
to
you're
get
saying
you.
charms are just signs that
No,
have
I'm
never
not
been
saying-
understood?
Some of our
like
obas
in
and
many
what do they call the
cases,
traditional rulers?
science.
They are
Could just
this.
be biology
I won't say
and other-
myths, but since maybe we're younger, but I know there was. I can't remember. Was it Kogi State?
Okay.
That the traditional ruler removed his.
I remember
cap,
something
and bees came out
about Queen Elizabeth.
Yes.
They were
Stung
forcing
everybody.
him to greet her, take off his
Is
hat
that
or
science?
something.
That can't
That's
be science.
biological or something. But
That is
how were
charm.
the bees?
And you see right now,
So in his hat,
this is
on
me.
his hand.
This is me trying to
I
be
think they
logical.
have-
Maybe the entourage, the queen's entourage, came with perfume and all of that.
You
and we.
are
No,
Now, I'm coming. Let me also take you on the. I think you talked about the Bakassi Paul. How did they know and all of that? Now let's take this simple airport when you want to travel, especially the international. How do these agents, by just mere looking at you, can tell that you're carrying drugs? They were trained.
Body language.
Body language, your psychology, you might be nervous. So many things. Maybe your eyes might be shifty. And they've been trained to psychologically look out for these things and single you out of that line. Because sometimes you could even try to beat the system. You might be too friendly because you're trying to mask some of these emotions. And they detect these things. And even in South America, I've seen where they even get some of, I think the rosary. These mules, these drug mules, sometimes they put the rosary and they say it protects them because they are poor and all. And they go to the airports and they get figured out. And maybe the few times, maybe they missed the watchful eye of some of these drug agents.
You'll be like, oh,
They're
it works.
It worked for me.
It works.
So we can now see that science plays a very pivotal role in some of these things. And some of these things we've talked about charms. Maybe it was our ancestral ways of employing science they knew at that time that never got evolved or advanced into the more technological side or space that we see. So I think with that, with the Bakassi boys and all of that, maybe they looked out for some things. They're like, why are you jittery? Come out here. And they'll be like, okay, this talisman
But on the lighter
or
note, the
this
airport,
stuff.
the airport is a very posh place. It's nice, and most people going.
Why are you sweating under the AC?
Why are you sweating under?
Why are you sweating under
I
the
sweat a lot.
Yes.
I sweat
Bakassi
a lot.
boys were facing guys in the bush. There was no AC there.
I
How
think-
do you know?
How
You
do-
understand?
Profiling, it's psychological profiling.
But that means they were very lucky almost every time then.
Well, we're not there
maybe
to
they
know
had
if they were
maybe they
lucky
had
every
trained
time.
eyes and they knew how to look out for these things.
I don't
Spiritual
think there's
trainers.
science cannot explain everything that happens in the realm
Nothing
of the
can
natural.
explain everything that happens.
So,
we're all human
so the
beings
question is
figuring
that
out
so
things.
when those things cannot be explained now, and some of them have passed through the lines that don't even emblem anything in the natural realm anymore. Yes, and then you clearly come back and give us the knowledge that this just because they can't be explained, that means they are science. No, I tend to believe now, right? I tend to believe now, to be honest, that there is a line that crosses these two paths, and there are ways that they still intertwine, but there are clearly different paths between science and the spiritual, and there are clearly different terms between the charms and the normal science that we use today. But yeah, they do intertwine in some cases, but you can't tell me that every charm is just unexplained science. I will not stay on that fact. I will not agree to that.
So what do you think about rainmakers? Do you believe that rainmaking is, a proper and factual, craft. And do rainmakers actually make rain fall when it's not the rainy season or when it's not time to rain? Can they prevent rain from falling somewhere and then it's raining in another place?
You've heard stories about the rainmakers?
I've
How
heard
they
stories.
do like events or like a party wants to happen?
They
Or let me
pay.
say like this thing, and
Yes.
they come there and they stop the rain from falling just to hold those events. You've heard stories like that,
I've heard
right?
stories, but I doubt the veracity of those stories.
Because
Because
you
you've also had stories of,
you haven't
Paul.
experienced something doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
No, see, even if I experience it,
Huh?
even if it happens here now,
You believe
it's
there is
not
an
raining in this
explanation.
place and it's raining over there, I'll still feel like maybe the clouds around here didn't form very well. Or, why can't some of those rainmakers go to the arid northern part of Nigeria and make the rainfall? Why are they always in the south?
And make
It's
it
literally
rain.
called African rainforest in the south. So, of course, it rains all the time, almost all year round.
Good, but they're stopping it.
But they are stopping
Which
it.
one is stop? Let them make. They call themselves rainmakers, not rain stoppers. Let
and
them make
stoppers
it
too.
rain more than they stop the rain.
So is it the fact
So
that
I
But
think it's more
if
powerful.
that region is always raining,
Yeah.
when they stop it, then it's a big deal.
then is a
Stopping
big
the
deal.
rain is the big deal.
Okay, they don't
Stopping the
stop
rain is
it
a bigger
everywhere. They
deal.
only stop it in a small place.
It's where you pay them to stop it now.
story,
There's
right?
a scientific explanation.
I've heard a
for
story,
that.
right, that like
You know?
our traditional ruler they were trying
The
to
only
do an
science there is
event
the money
or
you
an
pay.
event for the traditional ruler, right? And the rain was about to fall, right? But in just a small enclose of the circle, right, there was no rain falling in that. Like
Oh,
you can
that's
literally
fascinating.
feel like the circle like around it. So now when people tell you these kind of stories and things they have experienced with their 4 eyes, now what do you come to tell me that? Oh no, it's just science that we cannot yet explain
Did
to
you say 4 eyes?
No, yes now. Because you have to see with more than the natural now.
Wow.
You have to see also with the spiritual. Because if you're there now, you're telling me you're not seeing with just the physical
Clearly, me,
anymore.
I've been using my 2 eyes.
Yes,
so-
because you haven't experienced it in New Zealand, are you defying the fact that it does exist or it does happen?
Okay, maybe when I see it, I may believe.
You may believe.
Yes, when I see it, I may believe.
But now you do know that faith itself is an evidence of doubt. Like if you have faith, that means you're doubting something already. Yes, believe. The moment you believe
What do
something,
you mean?
let me clear it out now, right? The moment you already believe, now, but you're already doubting something. Because for you to have to believe, that means
There
there's
was
something
something
you
that was in
doubting
doubt.
already.
Doubt is a part of life. Any logical being should
And
be
so,
doubting.
yeah,
That's how
exactly.
we find answers. By seeking, by doubting, not by accepting everything that is thrown our way.
But you haven't yet. Okay, now you're just taking off facts that you've heard or things you've seen. But now, so when you tell me that when you experience this, and that's when you come down to nature
Yeah,
and believe.
okay, so I should just be believing things without
But
experiencing.
do you know how many things you have
May you not
read on
experience
books and believe that you have never experienced?
And that's the problem. In those things, I don't say I believe, I say this is the opinion of so and so person. I don't say
Okay.
these are facts.
They're not facts.
Yes, like things I read in books. Because you gave that example. Now,
Yes.
if there are things I read from books, then I'll separate what are my feelings, what are other people's opinions. I don't just say this is a fact just because someone wrote it.
But then that's how history has been passed down, right? History has been written by somebody else, and you come and read it. You were not in that time.
Thank you.
You were not in that era. You did
Even
not
our holy
experience
books.
it. But you come and you believe it.
No.
You believe
Well,
it
maybe
because
other people
you believe it. You
No,
believe
but
it.
let's not even digress. Let's just throw this question to our viewers out there. Please comment. Tell us, what do you think? Do you believe in rainmakers? Do you believe charms work? Or do you believe that charms and science are very intertwined?
No. Or do you believe that science evolved from charms?
Exactly.
Yes, and there were things that science also learned and evolved to how it was now from charms. Please let them.
No, I
let
think
them
I
answer
personally
that.
believe that science evolved from charms
Of
because
course.
it's a given fact that from what some of these our forefathers, ancestral fathers, and I think globally some of these wise men who discovered these things later applied them and they became science. Like for me, one thing till today that exists in modern day science that I still doubt is hypnosis. I still find it difficult where you hold a coin or a medallion, you swing it in front of me and tell me, focus, look into it. At the sound of my voice, when I snap my finger, you are now a chicken. And I start clucking like a chicken.
Exactly.
To me, I think it's maybe made up. I've seen videos where they'll say it really happened. You see people who are really doubtful about hypnosis come out to say it worked. But till today, I still find it very
do you mean
difficult to
I'm
understand.
doubting
I
hypnosis?
doubt it because you can't tell me to focus on something and I focus on it without, breaking that focus. Then you snap your finger, I become a chicken.
I mean, maybe the psychologists will better explain that, yes. But I still have my doubts about
about
hypnosis
psychosis
too.
and how it actually works.
Yeah, like
Because
just,
me to my own understanding, I believe these interests now are just like easier terms to explain for you things that you don't actually fully understand.
Yes, they are mysteries.
Yeah, they're
I
just
believe in
mysteries. But now, because we have evolved now, we're
Everybody's
modernizing now, we're
woke.
calling psychology
Yeah.
now in a way now that, okay, now since you can understand it in that
That was
term, they're
raw
making
charm.
it easier, diluted for you to swallow. And then we all agree, okay, yes, but this might work. But okay, so we agree that psychosis work. But then we come down to African time to say that doesn't work.
It's charm.
Yeah,
No, because
it's charm.
I think
It's charm. Put it in between.
you know what you just really talked about. Even in the African context, these things happen. You hear things like, "I was walking down the street. This guy touched me,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
next thing I didn't know where I
Touch
was."
and follow.
You understand? Because I
You
believe
don't know
that's
where you
another
were.
form of hypnosis.
Yes.
I believe that's another form of hypnosis.
oh, I have a story. I remember a young girl last year, she left my shop. And then when she got to the junction, some man asked her, "Oh, can you show me how to get to so and so place?" And then she didn't remember herself again. And then she went back to the gate of the market and she was just roaming. She went back home. For like weeks, she was ill. And so me, I was like, I don't think it's Juju. Everybody was like, "Oh, it's charms, Juju."
But
I
you
was
saw
like,
it real.
No, I didn't see it now. She only
No,
told
you saw
me.
her, I mean.
Yes.
And you saw, did you see her in that
I
state?
just felt like maybe they used some powder or some chemicals.
Chemicals to
Yes.
distort her.
Yes.
Distort her.
Chemicals.
And so what
Because
do you say about
she seemed disoriented for weeks.
Like, definitely.
and was ill.
like you know, some of these herbalists, they will know the kind of maybe herbs or
mix.
leaves or things to mix that when you touch it, it might kick you out of your mind, and maybe for some weeks or
True.
months,
I believe in
you
that
would
too.
not
Yes.
be in your senses. So some of these people have actually mastered these things. So our forefathers were actually scientists as well.
Yes.
And maybe what the gap here is they didn't involve that science.
And it's the
They kept-
interruption
exactly.
And they've gone down with it because
of
unfortunately-
westernization. Yes.
Exactly.
So we don't know where our science would have been right now if
Exactly.
there wasn't that interruption.
Exactly.
Me, I even actually believe, this is my belief, that most of what we see now as science came from, not all, of course, a lot of things came from colonization too. They came, they saw, they just,
Learned.
modified it. They learned and then they
picked
modified it.
and
Yes.
they evolved it. Even the ancient astronomers were all from Kemet, which was what we
Yes.
call today ancient Egypt. They evolved the
If
time
you check
zones,
the
they calculated.
Egyptian, yes, if you check Egypt particularly, you will see a lot of things that, way back.
Way back. Ancient philosophers still,
Yes,
they
honestly,
still
I
learn
have.
them.
I've been privileged to go into Egypt, like maybe 10 years back. I went to the museum and I saw
Must
even
have
these
been so
mummies.
fascinating.
Honestly speaking, even these mummies, they really were mummies. And I saw, you could see, how from the frame, the skeletal frame, these humans were not, they were not our size. Some were like, yes, two very, very big, their bones are still there.
Interesting.
Tutankhamun, some of the princes and all that. And they had, what fascinated me was they had these trinkets, the gold and like Nefertiti's gold, it's there. And it's locked up. And you could clearly see it was not refined. So how many, we're talking thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Where did they know that technology
They
from?
already had the knowledge.
So if they
to make
knew,
all this.
if they could get all that, most of them you still see, on this thing, they have the gold, their feet, they have, I saw this in Egypt. It's even there in the museum. So if they had that, then they might have had some other charms too. That, you understand?
Yeah.
They mix herbs and all that. Me, I believe somehow, some way, these things are, yes, intertwined. I believe that.
Science
and
the
charms.
metaphysic.
Yeah.
They're
For me,
definitely, yes.
I totally
But one
believe-
thing I totally believe is there's a spiritual aspect.
Yes, I totally
Not just
agree, to be
scientific.
honest, right? Some is not one, and there's
No, there's definitely
I had to suck my teeth. I had to suck my teeth.
there
Like
is
right now,
spiritual. I believe
we're back on the basis where people are researching of teleportation, where they are researching on the third dimension, how to move things from one dimension to the third dimension, or how to even travel interspace. Now tell me this now, but whenever you hear somebody disappear and appear, you just say Juju now. But science is trying to evolve it and bring it down back, and so that you understand it. And it's because, like we always mention before on most of our podcasts, the documentation process. Now, because science can actually give you factual ways of, okay, how they are going to create this and how they are going to make teleportation devices that somebody can, how can you move an object, a whole human being or a physical being, and transpute them to another different place entirely that they did not go through physically. But then when we say it in charm now, you say Juju.
And my question
So now,
is,
but the moment that thing is
yes, the
explained,
scientists.
So we
You
need
call it teleportation.
documentation
The scientists-
and let other people be able to vet
But
your
the moment that
process
thing is explained now,
and actually
you come
also
back
say,
and tell
yes,
me,
it
no, it's
works.
teleportation.
Exactly.
Science has said it has
But do you know
worked,
where
it
the
has worked.
scientists
But
went
when
to?
your grandfathers and ancestors were
But
doing it,
for
you
your
say Juju.
grandfathers, it's only them that are doing it.
You said
Meanwhile,
Juju.
science,
And
once
that's
they
what I told you now
document it,
about
anybody
is
can
the
do
secrecy.
it.
It's the
Yeah, so that
secrecy of
secrecy
it.
needs
But
to
the
be.
secrecy of it doesn't mean it doesn't work. That is it.
There are people that till today in Nigeria here, when they don't go into their rooms facing front, they go with the backs. And they are very powerful. I don't want to mention some states, but yes, in around this north central.
What's the significance of going through the front? Maybe like I always say, in every society, there's always a ritual.
Yes.
When you get married into that commitment, there's a ritual. You pay dowry, you do some certain things. When animals want to mate, they have their ritual. Everything has a ritual. Maybe this particular person or this clan belongs to a certain society that requires that when you join that society, you don't go into your house facing front, you go in with the
Spiritually.
back. Yeah, it's possible.
What's the logic behind that if it's not spiritual?
It might
clearly
be,
has to be spiritually.
that is why every organization, every community, every group have their ritual
And beliefs, yeah.
and beliefs. So for those people, that's their belief. You understand? Some people believe as men, when you want to pee, you shouldn't stand. If you ask some people, they'll tell you it's a ritual.
My friend has told me where he's from. The gizzard. It's only the fathers that eat gizzard.
Yes, even in my village. Though now,
Exactly.
of course, we eat it with reckless abandon and nothing is happening to us.
Exactly. So now, and like
I
So
mean,
the
Maybe-
spirits have been atoned.
Exactly, I don't, because
Nothing like
Yes.
that.
Don't
Because
really
I will
Yes.
go back to the point where you talked about the placebo effect. I believe even to some
Yes.
extent, some of those things, you need to believe in them for them to work towards you. You understand? Some of them, yes, well, although some have their spiritual aspect.
Okay, let me get you on that. Let us say this, my finger right now is a sedative, right? If I take it, it's supposed to knock me out.
Yes.
I'll take it. I don't believe in it. It will knock me out when it comes for it to take it.
Exactly, but exactly. Now
So it's
that's
not
the
about
fine line.
belief.
Wait,
If
that's
I
the
believe
fine
that,
line.
I believe, like there was this time, I think it was the 90s, it was University of Ibadan. This guy who believed he was one with God went into the lion's den. And they had
He
a
thought he
feast
was
with
Daniel.
him.
Oh my God.
They had a feast. But if you ask some people, they'll tell you because he tested God. That caveat that would always, protect that belief. There's always a caveat. It's because he tested God. That's why. If it was a situation where he found himself in a dire situation and there were lions, God would come. I'm not saying I'm trying to disprove some certain, but I'm
Yeah.
using this as an example.
Yeah.
There's always a caveat. This thing did not work for you because you ate gizzard. This thing did not work for you because you slept with your wife.
But
You
wait.
shouldn't sleep with your wife. if
But
you are
wait,
trying to
wait,
manifest
wait.
charm.
Do you know,
There's always a caveat
I
that
have
will
something to
disprove that
defend your
fact.
point. Do you
yeah.
know why? Because at the end of the day, right, every single organization, every single society has rules and principles they follow. There is no society that works without rules. There's no society that works without laws. Even Nigeria is governed by laws. And the moment you break the laws, there are consequences for that. Yes or no?
True.
So society and order cannot work. Order cannot work. Order and chaos work hand in hand. So the moment you break order, you get chaos. So you understand? Even if in the natural order right now, today, okay, now let me go out the road and start shooting people. They will arrest me, right? So even in that spiritual
But this
aspect
doesn't
too,
still exempt you from certain things.
Wait,
There's a
I'm
universal
getting
law
there.
that governs everybody.
I'm getting
Let
there.
you be on your organization society.
Wait,
we
but
all
getting
fall under the law of gravity.
Wait,
Whether you like it or
I
not.
was waiting for that.
Whatever goes,
Whatever
must
goes
come
must
down.
come down.
And
If
that
it
gravity,
was-
who invented gravity?
Nobody invented this. It was only in the
So
system.
some people think there's a big bang. It was a big bang or something.
It's not a big
Oh,
bang.
that.
It's a principle
But
that
now
exists
that you
on
mentioned
Earth.
the Big Bang, so let's talk about the Dogon of Mali, an ethnic group. Those people are people that charted the stars. They were astronomers who even saw the Sirius A and the Sirius B stars with their naked eye before scientists invented telescopes and then confirmed that true, those stars exist. In fact, they came to study with those Dogon people to see how their worldview, and even though they did not document systems, they had their oral tradition rich and they kept it into the 21st century. Now, you were talking about the Big Bang. The Dogon believed that the Nomo, some spirit beings, were the ones that brought this knowledge for them. So you see them, they have spirituality and science intertwined in their culture. And also they believe that the world was created through an egg or something like that. So it's also similar to the Big Bang theory. So you see in that African spirituality, there's the egg concept,
It's like
the
even
egg
with,
broke,
what do they call
kind of
them
like a
now?
Big
Like
Bang. So
genies.
it also complements
Yes.
science.
People believe in genies.
Yeah, they
Some
believe
people
in
tell you
genies.
they have their genies,
In a
and their
pod.
genies fight for them. They are, and so how do you want to explain that
I
now?
think that question now, let's throw it to the viewers now. Do you believe that African spirituality is intertwined with science? Or do you believe there is a very big line that separates spirituality and science? We'd like to see what they say that in the
Yes,
comment
I'll
section.
be-
Because, to be honest, I still believe now, because that can be explained, right? That is why you agree to it. And what about things that cannot be explained?
So
What
we
do you
just
now
say we
to
don't
it?
know. We don't claim that it's spiritual.
And then, but you don't claim they don't
Charms
exist because...
Okay, we're not saying they don't exist. We're saying we can't prove them.
We need empirical evidence and
Yes.
facts to show that
that would-
A plus B
A scientific
equal-
mind doesn't just accept things.
Exactly.
And I'm telling you now, the
question.
evidence,
And that's
because of
why
the
society
fact
has
now,
moved forward with technological advancements.
Advancement.
the evidence of absence, not the absence of evidence.
We understand.
But
That is
usually-
the fact.
So,
Yes.
On a
so
lighter
okay, we
note again-
agree. We're leaving it open-ended.
When big boys see big
when
problem, they
evidence
go into
presents
spirituality.
itself.
when you jam big problem, you remember spirituality.
No,
You remember,
for me, my placebo effect kicks in even when I jam problem because I don't believe in some things, so it doesn't catch me. So, for example, when people are talking about, oh my God, spiritual attack, Gwegwe is pressing me. I don't know, you're from the north, so you know
Bush baby.
Gwegwe. Yeah, it's pressing me at night. But for me, I'm just like, that's sleep paralysis. I don't think I've ever had
Hey.
sleep paralysis. So because I have
Okay.
a clear mind, I'm not really
Sleep
scared
apnea.
of supernatural, spiritual things. Those
Man.
things don't really catch me when they're catching others. So that
Okay, but
placebo effect.
somehow some people that live close to graveyards claim they see ghosts.
You know your mind's
Some
eye.
people
You know there's a
tell
way you train your
they-
mind.
They even feel, like steps in their houses and all that.
Madam Koi Koi Kina. Urban legends. Urban
You
myths.
understand? But
legend.
truly,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you know there's a way you train your mind. You could subject your mind into believing some certain things. Your eyes will begin to see what your mind is triggered
Like
to.
when I'm
What you
alone
see.
at home, I see different things. Maybe it's just one piece of paper. I'll jump, because I'm already scared and I'm thinking that
Now, let
other
me-
crawling.
Let me give you something that will blow your mind. We all know there was this snake scare, the incident of that girl that was. I was doing a report live on the air. I was talking about what to watch out for, what to look out for, and all of that. The cord of my headphones touched my feet. It startled me for a minute because my mind's already triggered that, okay, snakes, any creeping thing, because it's everywhere. On social media now, if you swipe through your phone, you're
Mind
seeing
games.
snakes. If I hear any sound, my mind goes there. I might see something just walk by. Maybe it could be a leaf casting maybe the moon is casting a shadow into. I will swear to God that I saw a snake. That's my mind already preparing me.
Yeah.
Living by the graveyard, you're already saying there are spirits, there are ghosts. That mysticism is already there. You see something, it could be a mist, maybe Hamatan dust or something. You would swear to the heavens and earth that you saw ghosts because you've trained your mind to see that. Your mind is already triggered to see that. So anything that happens in that shape or form, it will register in the brain that is what you have seen.
But there's this thing called exorcism. Have you guys heard of it?
Yes.
I've heard about
exorcism.
it, but
You know the
whether-
thing is this, right? The Catholic Church has their own belief about that. They need empirical facts. Before you'd agree, they would agree that you've exorcised someone, they must show evidence, you must come, the priest. I think you even said some
Yeah,
people
there
from
are
representative from
clear laws.
from
Okay.
Sicily, and even from the Pope and all of that. In this part of the world, they might just lay hands and say, and you go and you see somebody convulsing.
You can just be
and they
stubborn,
say, hey,
self, and difficult to control, and someone will label you possessed.
they're possessed. It could
Crazy.
be a psychological problem. It could be schizophrenia.
But
it could be so
I have
many
also
things.
seen a situation where a kid, this boy was maybe like 10 years old, and they brought, the guy was talking, like if he talks, his voice was like chairman here, deep. And you could see the authority and the confidence in this boy. So when they brought, somebody to pray for him, a man of God to pray for him, see, this guy, 4 able-bodied men held him down. When the guy was, I don't know, maybe, I won't say incantations, but he was speaking to the boy. If the boy stands up, these men fall. Yes, I've seen that.
Oh, wow.
And they asked this guy, the man was asking the spirit
entity in him.
Yes. What is your name? The deep
Faithful.
voice. The guy said his name is Katanga.
We are legion.
You understand?
We are many.
How do you want to explain that now?
So-
How,
Maybe
scientifically?
multiple personality disorder.
Disorder.
Okay.
See, the question, the truth, the lying point is that the spiritual exists. The spiritual
Definitely.
exists, and no matter how you want to define or translate it down, whether it's in whatever form it is, whether it's in African spiritual religion, our Abrahamic religions, whatever you want to define it, but the spiritual exists. And so when those spiritual deities or people in our African forecast now turn those things into charm, and then they find a way, and later on science finds a way to explain it. Now tell me, but did science find a way to create it at that time? It was created, but science could find a way to explain it later and find the methodology. So now the creation of those things from the inception now, how can you define that? You could only define how it was made
Your
later on because it was
you know, Africans, we are in tune with nature.
We are.
And we are really in tune because of nature. There's this mysticism always attached to it. Mysticism can also be termed as religion or science or spirituality and all of that. Just looking at nature, being connected with it, gives you this spiritual being that translates into what you're saying. What you cannot explain is spiritual.
I will still say it again. The absence of evidence isn't the evidence of absence. Yes.
Let's talk about African gods, African deities, and even how African spirituality correlates to natural scientific elements. So, for example, now, when you talk about Oya, she's the god or goddess of, the winds, the whirlwinds in Yoruba. You talk about Ogun, he's god of metallurgy, metals, blacksmithing, iron, yes, all of that, Shango, lightning, thunder, magnetism. So you see all of that it's science and spirituality that our ancestors were practicing. Or when you think of the concept of Ma'at in ancient Egypt, it was about equilibrium and how bodies can be in perfect, alignment. So you see physics, you see biology, you see all the branches of science, even psychology, which are the parts that we say, okay, maybe this person is possessed or is having a spiritual attack, but it could just be a psychological issue. So we see all the branches of science and elements of science and nature represented even in African spirituality. So I believe it's right to say that African spirituality and science were working hand in hand. They may not have called their science, but it doesn't mean that our ancient ancestors did not have the knowledge of the sciences.
It's possible the science was the science and it was termed spirituality because at that time, at that point, they couldn't make out what it is. Now, fast forward into today's reality, science now saw it as science and called it science.
True. Because even modern science, before we got to this point, they thought all those things were witchcraft. People were being burned. In fact, scientists were being burned for generations before finally, then somebody would now be like, actually, what that scientist said is true, but you've already killed him because you thought he was a wizard,
wizardry.
and all of that. So before we even got to this point of science, human beings have always doubted, have always called some things witchcraft or demonic or whatever. But it's good that we're evolving, and it would be great if African spirituality can also come out of the darkness and show the scientific side of it, so people don't doubt it, so people don't demonize it, so that it can have the respect it needs and contribute. It has always contributed to world science, just that, people have not given it the respect it deserves. But if it comes out of that secrecy, let it not just be secret cults. Let's share the knowledge. If we have DBRs, Babalaos, the knowledge they have, they can share it.
Instagram now.
Yes, give it to the younger generation. No, not those Yahoo.
Those are fraudsters. Those are fraudsters.
Yeah, they should just share the knowledge.
Back then, like what you said, that some of those spirituality have been explained and are turned down to science. Like some of the herbs that they were giving back then have been explained that some of them have antibacterial effects. Some even are like the artemisia that they use now. They also use it to start the development of the treatment of malaria. So some of them have actually diffused, and when they actually get the physical explanation of them, then you can actually get back
all these things,
all the pharmacologies you have to this very day. They explain a lot of drugs and this thing that we actually use right now. So as you said, some of these things might not actually be spiritual in some cases. They might just be intertwined with things that they understood back then. You understand? And how science now has explained them to us, and we can dissolve them easily. But at the same time, there are things that cannot be explained.
Yes,
on the light note. Exactly, because science has a very thin line. Because till now,
how do you want to explain you mix purple leaf and this popular leaf called dogonyaro, and it cures malaria?
It's science.
How is it science? It's just leaves.
because of the compound they have inside of them. If you mix them,
How sure these compounds are not just names?
No, they're not names.
Somebody just decided to just
No, that's why.
Scribble it
That's why.
But we see it as purple leaf and dogoyaro leaf, and you mix it.
That's why we have herbs and trees, because the earth had a way of bringing it to sustain the human population, for us to cure our ailment, for us to feed off of, and for us to sustain life in general.
So I want to understand the terminologies now we use also actually defines and have an effect actually in the way we see things. Anything that can be defined is now called science, but anything that cannot be defined is called charm.
Charm and juju.
That is the problem.
We just
but
need
when
systems.
these ailments and these herbs that our forefathers, ancestors used are now still being used to translate them to drugs that we use in normal pharmacology, then we still call it back to science.
No,
but then if you think that cannot explain it, it's
just
charm.
like
It's
the
not
other day,
charm.
just the
It's
other
not
day,
charm.
it's not like it's still science at that time. I think I remember right here. I said, science of that time was science of that time, and later, became what it is. Just like an example I gave a while ago of my aunt who came to Abuja. She became friends with somebody who was trying to conceive for years. She quizzed her on some certain things. She went to the village, got some leaves, and she gave birth to the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. Now, at that time, maybe people look at it, this is diabolical. She went into the bush, she got this, she got that, and all. It was science at that time of the existence or the discovery of that thing. And now,
Why
it's
would you have to call
amazing.
it science?
Yes,
Because
to be
it
honest,
is science.
in a way,
Okay, so should we create an African word?
Exactly
for
where I was
science?
getting
exactly. Like I don't
I
understand
think,
because
I think it is science, but just the African science.
we see there
and
is
nothing
way
diabolical,
that, like
nothing
even the way you
spiritual about
explained
it.
it.
Okay,
like,
so yes, we can just call it African
African
science.
science.
even the way you explained it, right? That like some of the spirituality now, there are things that have been demonized. You understand? Like the moment the aspect now that it comes back to like African myths or however they deal with the things, it will be demonized and be given a derogatory term. You understand? But the moment we want to explain something that the Western world has evolved and made it fancier in our eyes, now we call it science. But when your grandfather mixed some herbs and concoction
Thank
and
you.
gave you and he took care of your ailments, now you say it's a charm.
No, it's not charm. It's still science.
Exactly.
But you call
now
him
the
a
word-
herbalist.
Call
Herbology.
him a
Yeah,
herbalist.
well, herbology
And as you
is
mean, my
science.
point, to be honest, the point I'm trying to make now, but is the derogatory way we look at some of these things.
So we need to change
Yes,
our
the derogatory
perception
way we
of
look at
African
some of these
ways.
things, because now some of them can be explained, so you agree to them. But when those things could not be explained back then, when all those
Or even
herbs
still now,
and you
some
mix
things.
that could not be explained back then, you call them charms now.
Spiritual.
Let's be honest,
And we were not
like your
there, but I'm
forefathers
sure
now
our ancestors did.
yes.
But now we are
Because
hybrids.
it can
We're
be
modern
explained.
with ancient ancestors. We
it's
can't
because
help
they
it.
can be explained right now, so you agree to them. But when your ancestors did them back now, you say they were doing, you call them all kind of names. So my own target, right?
But they call them, not we. We were not there.
All right, whatever way we want to put it now, it's just the derogatory way we look at African charms or myths or whatever.
Which has to change.
Yes, it has to
however
change.
you want to look at it, right? There are things that have helped us to evolve right now to this modern day medicine.
Yeah.
That we use to this very
Yeah.
day. Yes.
Because with that example I just gave, modern medicine was applied to this lady who couldn't conceive, but the African science came to play, and she had the most beautiful baby
That's
I've ever
just
seen.
incredible.
Exactly.
So that is our science, not necessarily charm, but our science.
And so now it depends on the way. Like you see, it's the same term is using. It depends on the way you tend to believe what a charm is. You understand what it is. Like the word, what weight does the word carry when somebody tells you he's giving you a charm?
I'm
Do you
giving you,
understand?
yes.
The moment
you
somebody
just be scared,
yes,
like-
the moment
You
somebody
hold it
tells you
tightly.
giving you a charm are from the comes from the word charmers, right? Like charmers. So now the moment someone says, okay, I'm giving you a charm that you're going to use and do this and do that, he might not necessarily mean it's giving you, like I said that time about amulets and talismans.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily giving you something that will be spiritually embodied by one deity or by one god. But at the end of the day, who told you now that it's not just because that woman believed and that she actually had that? baby?
Because she had been believing with,
Why did she
modern
believe until
science.
she drank
That
the
is what I'm
concoction?
saying now. She had to drink that. Now.
Oh,
Who told
okay,
didn't
maybe
believe?
she believed and then drank and then
So she's not been
placebo.
believing since. It took my auntie from the village for her to believe.
At the
Or
end of the
maybe,
day, right?
maybe at the back of her mind, she believed more in the medicine of her ancestors than modern
At the end of the day, as we said now, the
Crazy.
placebo effect will still happen, right? Because who knows? Maybe when she took those drugs and those medicine, that
Maybe
now
was
she has
like,
come to
finally,
agree with.
my ancestors are going to work through me. I'll be
Well, I
fertile
think
just like my
you have a
ancestors.
point there. You have a point there, but I think those mixtures really worked for her.
Exactly. And now
Because
that
it
you
was
now,
our
can we
forefathers'
give
science.
like
Yes.
now?
So our bodies evolved to be used to those particular herbs. So maybe her body was rejecting modern medicine and,
Or the dosage of the modern medicine was not.
I don't know about that one. But let's just give it to our
Our
ancient
ancestors.
Like now, the
medicine.
medicine
Our
it
healers.
works
In
now.
that
Can
situation.
you guys give a scientific explanation of exactly what it was?
Now, I would have to reach out to her, get the name of these herbs,
Yeah.
put them together, and maybe we'll now meet.
And
Let
this
me
is
give you
the-
another
and this
thing,
is the
right?
education I'm talking about. You
And
see,
this is science.
because he needs to do that
Yes.
to help others.
Others.
But
Yeah.
if he allows her, he grows old.
And he
she grows
forgets about
old,
it.
and this
The
thing
knowledge is not
passes.
passed.
And
You
that's
see
the
what I'm
end
saying,
of
like,
that
you know,
knowledge.
earlier on.
And to be
These
honest,
are the problems.
some of these procedures that you talk about now, it's not even just about like about making it's how it is made too. Some of them, the procedure to making it might actually embodies whatever has to do the job. Because now she might give you this same leaves and you go and concoct and you might not work.
No, but she made it very clear. You know, we live in a society where everybody's like, "Ooh, I don't want to involve myself in anything diabolical." I remember she categorically stated it has no diabolical undertone, nothing. It's just mixture of herbs. My great grandmother taught me, and I'm just going to get those leaves, mix them for you, give it to you. And lo and behold, she went to the village, mixed it, gave it to this woman. After like 6 or 7 years of childlessness, this woman was able to conceive, and she birthed a
So
beautiful
we can
baby.
equally say we're too scientific in nature.
We are
So we need to-
scientific.
yeah, we're
Or
too
we're
scientific.
accepting
But are we
in nature.
too scientific?
No, we are
because
scientific. Maybe we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, we actually are.
We're
Maybe
too
with the
We're
maybe,
tending
maybe,
towards
maybe
them.
with the
Yes,
we're
maybe
leaning
with the
towards
arrival of the colonial masters, it now
Came-
disrupted
yes.
everything.
Everything,
and
as
we
you
just
said, it
left
disrupted
everything.
our history and we left it and we're leaning towards more the scientific
More-
nature
yes.
of things. That right now, if things cannot be explained anymore, people look at it, they demonize it immediately. Immediately.
No,
it
they
cannot
don't
be explained.
demonize. They just doubt.
They know,
You
they
know,
demonize.
They don't necessarily
now
demonize.
in the large scale of things now, if things cannot be explained, right? I'm not trying to be so factual about everything, right? But most of the times, if things cannot be explained now, they look at it from a demonic point of view. Do you be honest?
There's
It's
no
a
middle
spiritual
ground.
point. There's no middle ground to explain. Okay, how did this thing actually come to being? But now that most of our things now can be explained, we agree to them. Yes. If it can be explained, we agree to it. That's why I'm still waiting for that day. The day science will actually figure out that teleportation. And me and you sit down here
Someone
and have
was
this
saying,
argument.
no, it's not me and you. I'm not here. Someone was saying that his uncle or something like that used to be locked up in the police station, but then every night the uncle would disappear. But then
Why would you go back if you can disappear? Why would you
Why
go
would
back in
you
the
go
morning?
back?
Why would you go back?
Then they'll
Why would you
come
go
in
back in the morning if I
see
can
the
disappear or
uncle again,
relocate?
and at night
To be
you
honest,
disappear
actually
again.
was watching a research
See
of
that
one
nice?
guy too. He said that, right? If the first way now, right? I don't know how factual this is, but he said the first way that even if teleportation was meant to be walked down, but it would be hard to be from point A to point D because you're crossing through dimension. That means if whatever leaves point A has to go back to point B, and from point B has to go back to point A. So I'm just trying to make sense of that story. Do you
Okay.
It's a
understand?
one-way ticket.
It's a one-way train.
Okay.
I'm just trying to make sense of that story.
Okay,
That
but
it
you're
might
also
be that
using your physics
I'm
scientific
using
brain.
it exact. That's what I'm telling you.
Yes.
Till the
Which
day now,
is already tainted. So if you want to ask me,
I'm trying to say that till the day now that things are being explained to you, now you be like, oh no, it's teleportation now. But your ancestors now did you say no, it's
But
not
you know
true.
it's
They were
crazy.
jumping side to side.
Well,
Crazy.
We can actually say Africans' problem was not really lack of spirituality. It was more like a failure to transition.
yes,
You
I
understand?
agree with you on that one.
Yes. But spirituality, I am almost certain, or I am certain, there is definitely spirituality attached to science.
Yes.
Because even if you want to start questioning or going deep, naturally, can you just sit down and invent something without having going inwards? And going inwards means you are like in synchronization with your spirit.
Yes.
We believe we are spirit, Abi. Or you, we spirit. So you have to, you know,
He held
You
up
have
his
to-
glasses. You're
yes,
like,
you have to
will I
go
should I
deep.
agree to this or not?
there's still doubt.
You
but,
see that,
you know,
you thinking.
because so you know, it's one and two.
Yes, like me.
But you know
Like,
another thing again, necessity is the mother of all invention. I believe as humans, maybe the great thinkers or our elders of that time sat down and thought to themselves, how can we make this our life better? And from that, it birthed that necessity to create.
I agree with
Making
that.
work easier,
Yes.
birthed the idea to invent things. How can we fly like the birds because we want to cut travel time? They invented the plane. How can we make things better? You know, with food. I believe from the caveman era, they look like, how can we be eating? We can't continue eating raw meat.
Raw meat.
They discovered fire. So that necessity for that human race to
And
do
even
better.
temperature.
Exactly.
When you're on extreme temperatures, very cold or very hot,
You'll be forced to
You'll be forced to
Yes.
think.
Yes.
And that's, I think
and that's
and
the
that-
problem that we're having in this part.
And I think that's why you see, the Caucasians
Yes.
came up with a whole lot of things because their climate was not favorable
No,
for them.
not at all.
It subjected them to look inwards, to think on how they could better their own mankind. And that's what they did because of the necessity for them to improve their condition at that time. And that's why I think maybe it's interpreted as the spirit man.
I believe
Out of necessity.
I agree with what he said about like the fact that African spirituality did not transition. That, like as you said now, if these things were actually well documented and that we actually moved and we evolved with them, well, but then like you said, our history was interrupted. It was interrupted due to some factors of slavery and all that. But then if we actually documented all these processes and that was because the first step now, if you want to actually transition from one phase to another, the first step is that you have to actually document those processes.
Yeah.
You have to document them down so that the next generation that can evolve with it. But if there was nothing down to work on now, so we don't believe there are fables or there are myths now, and we talk about them as myths or legends, and we talk about them and we just put the term allegedly behind because we're no more certain anymore because they were not documented down. So yes, if the transition was made better now, I believe we'll have had more explanations and more understanding to most of these things that we cannot define right now.
Okay, so let me ask a question. Because I do have this thing where sometimes I'm just sitting there, I'm like, yeah, so I'm in the modern world. They see science, they say there's evidence behind all of these things. But then I think like, Wi-Fi, airdrop, Bluetooth, they still feel like
AI.
witchcraft to me, So are there things that are part of modern technology that sometimes you still wonder, you're like, how does this
Are they
thing
intertwined?
Yeah,
Are
it
they
feels like
intertwined?
things that have to do with airwaves always fascinates me and make me.
Frequencies. True. How things
So
are
maybe
being
if I was in the ancient times, I'll be one of those people who be like, witchcraft.
You call it witchcraft now, right? That's like it's exactly what I keep saying. You call it witchcraft, but now because it can be explained, you agree to it.
But
You
now
agree
even
to
the
it.
explanation, like sometimes I pause and I'm thinking about it. I'm like, still airdrop, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. It just
What is
feels
connecting?
What
You
is
know,
connecting?
like,
and it just comes
yes.
back to the fact that they actually have documentations of the processes of how these things are made.
Yeah.
They have every down written document.
But what if modern scientists are just witches and wizards that have found better ways to just say, oh, we have an explanation, but
Can I
actually
be
it's
honest with
witchcraft
you?
they are doing
I
because
believe that
because those are things you can actually try and it works.
I want to see cables. I like to see, the connection. Like,
Yes.
yeah, perhaps
I'm
if I
feeling
saw
it.
yes, they say fiber optics. That's how we're getting Wi-Fi, but still, the Wi-Fi is still wireless. So it's still, I'm like, this thing just feels like
It's
witchcraft
passed
now,
by- it's frequencies now that's the difference with like the modern science is that right these documentations that are given down they are factual and you can actually replicate it. You understand? That's
true,
the
that
difference
replication.
because it's the replication, like the documentation is down that if you try it it can work if you have the right apparatus and the right knowledge. If you try them it will work. So
True,
now
true.
but then science now the problem now that comes back to like African charms or spirituality is that even if they give you some of these apparatus you try them and they might not have those effects. Exactly. So like
Be like, oh, you didn't believe.
But with our charms, you can actually send some,
What?
some genies.
Incantations.
Genius, yeah. It goes back to I guess at the end of the day now, but they say see
No, you can send some genies.
so,
I can send you a message. If, for example, not me, like, somebody's maybe in, say, Finland, and he's needed back home. Sometimes messages are being sent. So it's somehow like what she's saying, the
Wi-Fi.
fiber optics and all that. So we
Wi-Fi
all have our different approaches.
communication. We all have our bridges then.
Yeah, I think we've exhausted our opinions about our disbelief and our belief of science versus charms. And let's just conclude with these words. A summary of everything we've said has just been we need better systems, we need documentation, we need to be able to say, someone should follow a process that someone else has written down and see that it works. That's the only way we can say, okay, this thing is no longer a charm or something spiritual. It's actually a science. Like Africans believe in things that you can see them even in modern science. For example, the Ashe or Ise in Igbo or Inyo in my language. And then those are all words for amen. That's belief that when you strongly believe in something, it will manifest in the physical realm if you believe it in your, subconscious. And then even modern psychologists say that and have actually proven that works. That's why we say powerful, positive thinking is powerful and all of that. And then even the power of reincarnation, Africans have always believed that. And now modern science and physics tells us that energy cannot be destroyed. It just recycles itself. So that's just to say that Africans have always been scientists. They may not have called it science, but they were spiritual, scientific people in tune with the natural world around them. And we should always, always respect, revere our African ancestors and see what we can learn from everything they've left for us. See how we can push that.
Make it better.
Science forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
So hooray for science.
Hooray.
Acha.